All right, let's do this thing. Oh, we're a little hot there. Hello. Testing. Can you all hear me? How you doing, everybody? Chuck Holton here. I'm coming to you from the balcony in downtown Jerusalem. And around Israel, people are getting ready for something. There is some talk, there's a lot of talk that Iran may be about to strike Israel again with missiles. That's really the only way they could strike Israel, right? I mean, they don't have any jet airplanes that can make it over here. They don't have any refueling capability. They don't have any troop transports that can make it this far without getting smoked along the way. So missiles, it is. And the reason that people think that Iran might be about to fire missiles is what we're going to talk about tonight. We got a whole lot to cover tonight, a big show. So let's get right into it. But before we do that, want to, first of all, just give a shout out to Mama Marissa for being so faithful. She's not paid to do this, but she's here all the time, and she's keeping the chat clean. So everybody say thank you to Mama Marissa. Uh, Mama Marissa, I was in downtown, the old city yesterday, and I was talking to Oscar about how much I appreciate you. And Oscar said, well, you ought to get her something from down here. So I got you a gift from the old city of Jerusalem. And whoop, I just dropped it. The gift, let's see if we can show you this, is a widow's mite. This is a roughly 2,000-year-old coin that was the kind of coin that Jesus was referring to when you saw when you read the story of the widow putting everything she had into the coffers. And since Mama Marissa gives it everything she has, we thought that the widow's mite would be a good uh, gift for you. So you need to send me your address, and I'll mail this to you when we get back to the United States, whenever that is, which might be Thanksgiving at this point. So I'm going to try not to lose that between now and then, and we'll mail that to you. But you got to send me your mailing address, and that's just to say thank you for literally more than a year of serving the people of the hot zone. And I want you to know that that means a lot, and it does not go does not go unappreciated. Uh, so let's also, real quick, just hit our sponsor for this episode. Look, if you're anything like me, the hardest part of the day is trying to shut your brain off at once you lay down at night. Even when I'm just wiped out, my mind is just racing all the time, thinking of headlines and what I need to do and everything I didn't get to today. And so even after I crawl into bed, I just lay there and stare at the ceiling. Or I wake up at 2:30 in the morning and sit there and go, okay, now there's 7 kinds of Baptists, American Baptists and cooperative. It's like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just sleep through the night? So recently, a friend recommended that I try this product that might help. It's called Beam. It's by the company Beam, and it's called Beam Dream. It's a powder that's basically just like hot chocolate. And it tastes like hot chocolate. And I haven't tried this product, but I've tried one like it, and it's got real good things like magnesium, L-theanine, reishi mushrooms, and lots of all natural compounds that support real sleep. It's not, knock you out and make you groggy the next day. Uh, it's just a nice way to relax and turn your brain off before you go to bed. It doesn't have added sugar, no grogginess in the morning, and it's designed to help you stay asleep and not just fall asleep. That's what I need, is to stay asleep. So if you're somebody that runs on overdrive like I do and need to protect your rest, I'd say give it a shot. So I'm going to do so myself as soon as I can get back to the States and then get me some. I'm definitely going to be trying it. So you can use code HOTZONE at the link below to get up to 35% off. That's shopbeam.com/quartering. and put hot zone in for up to 35% off. All right. So thank you for our sponsors, to our sponsors, and for you guys for visiting our sponsors. All right, let's move on. Now, how do we know that Iran is maybe about to attack, maybe even as soon as tonight? Well, there's a lot of indications. First of all, Iran themselves are threatening it, but they threaten all the time, so you can kind of take that with a grain of salt until they start closing their airspace. And last night, Iran closed their airspace. Not only that, but a bunch of flights got canceled from on their way to Jordan and Iraq from places like Istanbul and Dubai. So that is what we call a clue. They have so far, every time they've fired missiles at Israel, they've closed down their airspace shortly before they attack. Now, it's very likely they could be doing this just as a kind of one of those head fakes, like, come on, you want a piece of me, kind of thing. But one thing that I always keep my eyes on when I'm here in Israel is what's happening in Judea and Samaria, because the Arab Muslims over there, I don't know if they have a hotline or if they have the kind of rumor mill that's very robust, but those guys seem to be prepared or preparing before things happen. And last night, somebody posted a video from Shechem, which is they call Nablus, up in the northern part of Samaria, and a big city. It's where the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades came from. And there were, at the gas stations in Shechem, there were people lined up for a mile. I mean, just super long lines for people wanting to get filled up with gas before everything shuts down. So pray for Israel. Pray that my lovely wife will be able to get into Tel Aviv tomorrow, because if they attack tonight, there's a good chance they'll cancel all the flights, close the airport, and my wife will be stuck somewhere in Europe with my credit card. And that could be dangerous. So, just kidding, honey. Buy whatever you want. I'm I'm here. I'm here for you. Um, so Israel, for their part, has not put out any notices or warnings, or air raid sirens haven't gone off, nothing like that. People here are talking about, hey, did you hear that Iran might be about to attack? Uh, and like when Oscar went to the barber shop today, the guys at the barber shop were all talking about it, and they were like, yeah, we're getting ready. But nobody knows. Nobody knows if that's, I mean, Iran might know, but nobody here knows for sure. I think it's telling that the Israeli defense uh, establishment is not telling everybody, hey, stay close to your shelters. Of course, there's a lot of intelligence that's being gathered now out of Iran, and Israel might be, let's just say, uh, doing things in Iran to sort of keep the Iranians on the back foot. We'll talk more about that in just a second. But first, the Israelis normally would put out a text message to everybody and say, stay near your shelters. Things are going to be happening. We expect there may be some incoming. After the 12-day war, we've not had many of those, except for when the Houthis fire rockets this direction. Many times when the Houthis fire rockets, the Israelis don't even bother to alert us anymore, because half those rockets never make it to Israeli airspace. They just fall short on their own. And the other half gets shot down. So everybody's just like, meh. I don't think anybody goes to the shelters for a Houthi rocket anymore. But there was one that was intercepted right over there a few nights ago. So they do come in here, but that's not what we're worried about. Worried about a major attack from Iran. Now, Iran has been threatening all sorts of stuff. These guys can talk smack just like Baghdad Bob or Saddam Hussein. I mean, oh yes, this will be the mother of all battles, and we will be at war for 10 years with Israel. There will be a 10-year war. Yeah. In the space of less than 2 weeks, just a little over a week ago, Iran saw virtually all of its air defense assets destroyed or damaged, most of its government buildings, many of its military bases, and all of its nuclear facilities, save potentially one. There might be one that didn't get hit. But suffice it to say, they got hurt very badly, very badly. They're very fortunate that Israel didn't start going after critical infrastructure to a great degree and absolutely waste Iran's ability to make money by selling oil. That would be a setback for Iran that they couldn't recover from for years. It would take years to recover. So Israel showed some restraint even in the bombings that they did on Iran, and they absolutely creamed Iran. On the other hand, there were about 20 missiles that fell inside Israel that landed in built up areas. Some of them caused more damage than others. The one in, was it Bat Yam or something like it, Bet Yam, put like 2,000 people out of their homes because their homes all have to be repaired or replaced. Hit an apartment building, like a high-rise apartment building, and just wasted it. That was a big missile. But Oscar and I went up to Haifa over the weekend and visited the site of one of the missile strikes. And this was a hypersonic missile, I believe, that struck downtown Haifa. And I want to show you the video of what that was like. So let me see if I can figure out where I put it. And I will play it for you. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. That's not it. Where is it? No.
They have come to...
No. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure. I thought I had it in here. Maybe I don't. Okay, I'm going to have to go look for it while I keep talking. So that's strange. Oh, there it is. I just, no, that's not it. That is where it's supposed to be, but it didn't get loaded right. So I'll load it real quick for you. Anyway, like I say, about 20 missiles fell inside Israel across the entire country. And 20 missiles is definitely 20 too many, right? I mean, that's bad, very bad for the places that it struck. But 20 missiles is not going to lose Israel the war. It's just not going to happen. And, oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, so let me show you what it looked like at the site where we went, where the missile struck. Let's take a look. Ah! You guys like watching things upside down? Missile. It's obvious that the Iranians were just... Let's start that over.
Over the weekend, Oscar and I drove up to Haifa to see how things have progressed since the end of the 12-day war with Iran.
So this is Haifa, and this is one of the places downtown where a ballistic missile hit. So this skyscraper here had some of the windows blown out, and some of the buildings around here were damaged. There's actually a mosque right here that was damaged by the missile. It's obvious that the Iranians were just firing at the center of Haifa, because this is right in the center of town, and obviously didn't care what they hit necessarily. Nothing of a military importance at all. There's no strategic value to this strike. It's just absolute pure terror. And that's what we saw all over this country. This is just near the epicenter of where the missile hit in downtown Haifa.
You can see this building looks really destroyed behind me, but what you have to keep in mind is that this building was actually abandoned long before the missile hit, and so it already looked a lot like this, although it may look a little worse now. This building behind me was damaged in the strike. You can see some broken windows there. It's one of the 600 or so buildings across Israel that were damaged by the airstrikes, but you can see the building's not destroyed, and there are many other buildings around that are in good shape. Everything's actually not as bad as you might think.
Okay, so that just shows you a little bit. You notice there the buildings are all still standing. There were no buildings there that I saw that looked like they would be destroyed, except for the abandoned building that was already abandoned and covered with graffiti and kind of wrecked anyway. It was something of a miracle that that missile struck an abandoned building and didn't strike a building that had a bunch of people in it. And it again was just right in the center of Haifa. So a lot of windows broken, some damage, some cars wrecked and things like that. Insurance should cover most of that. And they'll repair it and they'll be back on their way. They're already tearing down the apartment building in Bat Yam that got destroyed. They're tearing it down and they're ready to rebuild it. And they're saying, we're going to rebuild and this thing will be good as new in no time. So yesterday on the live, I talked about Colonel McGregor, who and him saying that Israel was on the ropes and they were being destroyed, and the Iron Dome is more like an iron sieve. Well, about 4% of the munitions that were fired at Israel got through. I wouldn't call that a sieve necessarily. And again, now we just reached 30 people that died because of the 12-day war here in Israel. There were 2 more that died just in the last couple of days that succumbed to their injuries in the hospital. One was a Thai worker who was, an agricultural worker here. So that's unfortunate. But 30 deaths for a 12-day war with Iran doing its worst, not all that. I mean, yeah, it's bad, but it's not nearly as bad as a lot of people thought it would be, especially people like Colonel McGregor, who said that a third of Tel Aviv was destroyed. I sure didn't see that when I drove through Tel Aviv. So Iran this time might want to, since they've been talking in Israel about striking Iran again, like, hey, we reserve the right to come back and knock out your nuclear sites once again if you guys are trying to rebuild your air defenses or you're trying to dig out those nuclear that enriched uranium, whatever. If Iran does that, Israel reserves the right to go back and strike them again. And there's been a lot of talk that Israel may be preparing to do so. For that reason, the Iranians may be looking to score a preemptive retaliatory strike uh, against Israel. And so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. If there is an air raid tonight, I will go live like this and then probably go down in the basement because there's no safe room in this building. I don't know. It just depends on what it looks like. But I mean, I probably will just stand out here and film it. But stay tuned, and I'll go live if something crazy happens. Probably will go live over on CBN's channel, actually, if that takes place. But since there's no safe room in this building, or besides the basement, I might just let it run and then go down there. But you know, uh, I don't think the Iranians are going to aim for the old city of Jerusalem, because if the Iranians take out the Dome of the Rock, they're going to have some bigger problems than Israel. There's going to be 1 billion Muslims around the world who are going to be very upset with Iran. So I think Iran is studiously avoiding targeting downtown Jerusalem. I could be wrong about that, but that's just my sense. Okay. Now, I wanted to check and see if we've got a bunch of questions going or anything. So I gotta go over here and look. Whoa, man, we got 3,000 people watching. Thank you. Oh man, there's a whole lot going by there. Um, Israel is so beautiful. Lucky you've been able to go all over the world and visit Israel. Thank you, Nitsa. I appreciate that. Uh, and always appreciate you. Thank you very much. And Frasklavo, whatever. I can't read that. Uh, Thank you for the $10. I appreciate that. Um, so, with 3,000 people online, you would think that it would just take me mentioning it for you to go hit that like button, please, and get the likes well over 1,000. Look, I know I always forget. I get into the video I'm watching and I forget to hit the like button, but it does make a big difference. And it's a free way that you can support the channel by telling YouTube that more people need to see this. So please do just go hit that like button while we're thinking about it. And it doesn't cost you anything. We're not going to spam you or anything like that. Sorry. Also, I'm supposed to mention a couple of things to you. We are taking signups for our upcoming trip to Armenia next June. We have been doing these tours now for years, and we had 30 hot zonians on the last tour this last June and had a fantastic time in Armenia. I know you're probably going, where? Armenia? What? Why? Well, if you go there, you'll know why. And trust me, it's a bucket list item, or it should be. Um, Question, can you please give us an update on what happened in Suwaida? Yeah, I'll get to that. I'm getting to what's happening in Syria. I just wanted to get done with Iran and remind you to go over to chuckholton.com. If you want to support this reporting, support the work I do, help keep us in the field, you can go to chuckholton.com. That's a really good way to support the channel. And I appreciate all of you who do. We try to put up a lot of extra content for you over there. So, for example, that video I just showed you from Haifa is up over there at chuckholton.com, and supporting members over there could watch it yesterday. All right. So let's move on to Syria. Right now, there's a lot going on in Syria. Uh, First of all, I want to talk about the violence that's happening there. There's a place called Suwaida, which is just outside Damascus. And in Suwaida, Suwaida is inhabited primarily by Druze. Again, Druze is spelled Druze. Druze are a mysterious people. It's an ethno-religious group that believes in a form of Islam. They're kind of a cult of Islam in a way. At least a lot of people who are Muslim feel that way. They believe in reincarnation. They have some other kind of different beliefs from your traditional Muslims, and they're very secretive about exactly what they believe. So they just don't like to talk about it. But like the Yazidis and like the Alawites and like the Syriac Christians and the Armenian Christians and the Maronite Christians, uh, they have all been terribly persecuted by Muslims across the Middle East for centuries. So this is not really anything new. However, there's been a big flare up after I think it was some. I don't know exactly. There was a clash between the government forces. When I say government, just keep in mind that I'm just using that as shorthand because the current governing body in the western part of Syria is not a legitimately elected government. They just took power and they are being treated like a legitimate government, even though they're not. But so keep in mind, they're not really a legitimate government, but they are in control of about 2/3 of Syria. and they want to be in control of all of Syria. This is under uh, al-Jilani or al-Shara, depending on what you want to call him, former al-Qaeda guy. He has pulled together a whole bunch of disparate militia groups, from straight up ISIS to almost ISIS to pretend ISIS to yesterday's ISIS to wannabe ISIS. I mean, you're getting there's a bit of a commonality here in the people that he's employing. Hearing from people that I talked to inside Syria after I was just there a couple months ago, I hear from them on a daily basis, and they're telling me, look, what they call now the GSS, or um, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, it's ISIS. It's just ISIS in a suit, and it's still ISIS. So the way that they're treating people in the places they control is commensurate with how ISIS treated people when they controlled regions across Syria as well. And it's amazing how the world, the Western Europe and even the United States, is just like fallen all over itself to try to legitimize this illegitimate, governor, al-Shara. And even Israel is going, all right, well, let's make the best of a bad situation and let's see if we can work with this guy. So it looks like he's going to be the guy for the time being. So let's see if he's reasonable. So they just got together and met a few days ago in Azerbaijan. So al-Shara was going to Azerbaijan to meet with Ilham Aliyev, who is also a brutal dictator, and maybe get some pointers on how to oppress his people or something. While he was there, they had a little breakout session with an Israeli, several representatives from the Israeli government, and al-Shara and some of his people. Now, later on, the Syrian government came out and said the president, al-Shara, was not in the meetings with the Israelis. He did not go and shake hands with the Israelis. Other reports have come out and said, oh, yes, he did. He was there. He was in those meetings. He just doesn't want to appear to his uh, ISIS brotherhood to be commiserating with with the Israelis. However, what did they talk about? Well, they talked mostly, they say, about how to deconflict between Israeli forces that are in Syria and the new government forces, which are trying to take control over the rest of Syria. The Israelis are not planning on leaving that at all. When Oscar and I went up to the Syrian border yesterday, and every time I do that, my phone thinks I'm talking to Siri, and it pops up. Uh, I'm just gonna turn you over, and I'm not gonna look at you anymore. So when we went up to the border of Syria, we were talking to some of the Druze up there, because there's Druze on both sides. And I actually bought some honey from one of the Druze guys. So I was talking to him, and he's like, yeah, the Israelis have pushed 15 kilometers into, so what's that, about 7.5, 8 miles into Syria. And they're holding all that territory along the border with Israel. And some people here in Israel are saying that's going to be the new border of Israel out there. They're not getting that back, especially around Mount Hermon. The Israelis have wanted that mountaintop for a long time, and now they have it, and they're not planning on giving it up. That gives the Israelis a buffer zone to keep attacks from taking place from Syria into Israel. Because there is a United Nations peacekeeping force that's stationed right there on the border. Oscar and I stood there and looked. We were, I don't know, half a mile or less from the border yesterday. And just across on the other side of the border, there's this massive sprawling camp of that belongs to the UN Disengagement Observer Force, UNDOF. And UNDOF is supposed to, they've been there like since the 70s. They're supposed to be there to make sure that Israel doesn't, do anything untoward along the border and keep an eye on Israel. So they spend about half their time criticizing Israel, and the other half the time they spend fleeing into Israel across the border because their own UN peacekeepers are getting kidnapped by Hezbollah and Al Qaeda in Syria. They've actually had to relocate at times into Israel, even though they're very critical of Israel. They certainly know where the safety is. And now UNDOF has been spectacularly worthless ever since its beginning. However, the United Nations has given them about $66 million a year as a budget for doing nothing. And they use that money to do nothing. They do a little bit of humanitarian work, which is commendable. But other than that, they're not even armed. These UN blue hats are from places like Nepal and Senegal and India, places that I wouldn't put on the top of my list for knowing what peace looks like, for one thing. Uh, People that come from developing countries typically don't have a real good grasp on what it's supposed to be like. Now, they do have some Irish peacekeepers there. Those guys come from a developed country, although it's being overrun by migrants at this point. So maybe Syria is safer for them. I don't know. But if you're from the United States, just keep in mind, about a third of the UN's budget comes from the United States, US taxpayer money going to them. UNDOF takes $66 million. That's about $50,000 for every blue hat that they've got up there per year. And have a nice day. There are about 1,200 peacekeepers at that camp. Now, you would think that if they were actually peacekeepers, that right now, as the Druze people are being brutally oppressed by the forces of al-Sharaa, right there in their area, that the UNDOF forces would roll out there and try to, break those people up. Hey, knock it off. But no, they're not doing that at all. You know who is doing something is Israel. We got word just before I went live here that Israel has been today striking tanks. They struck several tanks that were on their way to the fighting in Sueda. These tanks were former Assad regime tanks, but they are now in the hands of the al-Sharaa gang, the GSS. And, well, they're not anymore because Israel smoked them today. And their official excuse for striking those tanks was those tanks were approaching IDF positions. They got too close, and so they've got to get smoked. But later on, some Israeli politicians like Smotrich and others came out with pretty strong statements saying, we will not allow al-Sharaa's government to harm the Druze in southern Syria. Why? Because the Israelis want to keep that sort of friendship with the Druze. The Druze in Israel love Israel. They're very faithful. They're not traitorous people at all, and they're known for being loyal. Many of them serve in the IDF and elsewhere, or serve in political parties and stuff like that as well. And the Druze in Syria have been saying for, I don't know, months, since December, we want to become part of Israel. So can you please come just like take over this whole southern part of Syria here and make that Israel, because we want to live like our Druze brethren over there in Israel. They live a lot better than we do. Now, Israel's not exactly going to annex that area, but they are telling the al-Shara government, don't go any further. We're not going to allow you to oppress these people. So let's hope that they do take a hard stand on that. Now, I just want to point out, as I do from time to time, that the Israelis they're fighting hard on many fronts. They just lost 2 more guys in Gaza. They've been absolutely hammering the northern part of Gaza for several days. And a lot of that is sort of trying to encourage, is some kinetic encouragement to come to the peacekeeping or the negotiating table. Hamas has flatly rejected the peace deal. Uh, this Everybody was hopeful that there would be a ceasefire this week, in the next few days or whatever. It's looking increasingly less likely as time goes on, because Hamas is like, we will not give back the hostages until Israel leaves us alone. And Israel's like, yeah, not going to happen. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu made that very clear in a video that he put out this morning, and I dubbed it uh, into English. It was in Hebrew. So if you wonder why the lips aren't syncing up, it's because he's actually speaking Hebrew, but I've overlaid his voice in English on top of it so you can understand what he's saying. So take a listen.
Prime Minister, you returned after an important visit.
It was a very successful visit. After a big victory over Iran, there are many opportunities here, many possibilities, many tasks. I am determined to achieve them all.
Prime Minister, in the studios they claim that you refuse the deal, that your government refuses the deal.
Well, what's new? They always echo Hamas propaganda, but they are always wrong. We accepted the deal, the Witkoff deal, and then the version the mediators offered us. We accepted it. Hamas refused it. And what does he want? He wants to stay in Gaza. He wants us to leave so he can rearm and attack us again and again. I will not accept this. I will do everything to bring our hostages back. I am meeting with the families. I know their hardship. I know their suffering. I am determined to bring the captives home and eliminate Hamas.
Prime Minister, but we see polls in the studio showing that most of the public supports the deal.
Sure, I also support the deal. But they don't tell you the other side. Later, with engineered surveys, they always tilt about, but are always surprised by what actually happens. Because they don't ask, do you want a deal to release hostages that leaves Hamas in place? That he can repeat the act of rape, the act of murder, the kidnappings, the separations? No, it is not. Suddenly, the numbers completely reverse. It's entirely engineered, and the right things need to be done. Insist on the release of the hostages, and insist on the additional goal of the war in Gaza, the elimination of Hamas, and ensuring that Gaza will no longer be a threat to Israel. That's what I'm doing. I will not give up on any of these stuff.
Okay, you did not get that from any other news source, because I'm the one who dubbed it into English. Otherwise, it was in Hebrew. So I appreciate somebody just donated. Maturity is earned. Thank you very much. Appreciate your donation. Uh, so uh, we've got we got over 4,000 people watching now. Please do hit that like button and make sure that you're going over to chuckholton.com for additional information. We'll also put up a summary of this live, a written summary if you want to get some of the information out of it. After this, it'll go up. And Rubina is the one who does that. So thank you, Rubina. That video is not AI. It was just dubbed using AI into English. So there's a great program that I use called 11 Labs that I can take any interview in almost any language, dump it in there. It will clone the person's voice and then translate it into English and then dub it all with the push of a button. It's amazing. That would have taken a day's work 5 years ago. And now it's push one button, download it, boom, you're done. It's incredible. So thank you very much for watching. Now, just some other news out of Syria. The Israelis, the fighting has been brutal in there. They say there have been 30 or 40 people killed already, fighting between the Druze and the GSS forces, and the GSS is pouring reinforcements into that area, so it could very well get worse for the Druze. So let's hope that Israel will stand by them. Thank you. Maturity is earned. We'll get some coffee. All right. Thank you. And on top of that, on top of the fighting that's going on there, Israel has been conducting raids inside Syria for more than a week now. They have a lot of intelligence. Israel is really good at getting that on the ground human intelligence. Basically, I think they just buy people off. There's a lot of people in Syria that will, work for a little bit of money. So, hey, bring me some information on this or that, and boom, there you go. We got the information, and they have used that information to go in and raid and take out a bunch of terror cells that were in the process of planning terror attacks against Israelis, both at the Syrian border and elsewhere as well. They also found a whole bunch of weapons, this cache of weapons here. This was put out by the IDF. This is a video that they put out that shows a bunch of bunkers that they found full of, these are landmines right there. And those are basically anti-vehicle landmines. There's some more of them. So there's a whole bunch. Look at these really rudimentary underground bunkers. It's crazy. There's some other weaponry in here that they got. Looks like shape charges right there. That's a shape charge explosive device. And so Israel, I don't know if they will destroy it or if they'll give it to somebody else. But man, I have seen those canister, that they're basically preformed IEDs. I've seen those all over Iraq and Syria, and they make me really nervous because those things are volatile. So finding lots of weapons over there. They say it was like 3 tons of weapons. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate your prayers. God bless you. That's nice of you. There's literally 3 tons of weapons that they took out of that buffer zone that Israel has going 7 or 8 miles into Syria. So we need to be praying for the Christians, the Druze, the Yazidis, and the Kurds. Now, the Kurds still control about a third of Syria. They call that Rojava. It's to the east of the Euphrates River. They have been pressured by the Trump administration and by Turkey and lots of people to just submit themselves to al-Shara's government and come in under the new government of Syria. And the Kurds are like, yeah, no, not going to happen. The Kurds lost 12,000 men taking over that region from ISIS several years ago. I was there many times during that fight. Spent a lot of time in Syria during that fight, and they sacrificed a lot, and they're not going to just throw that away. Now, there's one big sticking point that the Turks have with the Kurds, and that is they believe that pretty much all Kurds are terrorists, but especially the PKK. And that was the Kurdish Workers' Party. Is a hardcore left-wing communist party that's I've spent a lot of time with those guys, and they are really communist, like straight up. And they were responsible for actual terror attacks inside Turkey against the Turkish military and the Turkish government and things like that. So the Turks labeled them a terror group. The United States labeled them a terror group. And the Turks have been fighting against those guys for a long time. I think finally the Kurds realized that the way forward is not that way with the PKK. And so the PKK agreed to disband and lay down their arms. And they just had a big ceremony and they put videos up of all the PKK fighters coming in with their weapons and putting them in a big bin and turning in their ammo cartridge belts and everything like that and throwing them down. Now, I have to say, I know the Kurds, and the Kurds are not giving up all their weapons. They're making it look like they're giving up some weapons. They're turning in, they have a lot of weapons. They're turning in some of their weapons to make it look like they're doing that. But the Kurds are not stupid enough to disarm in the face of the very foe and some of the exact same fighters that they lost 12,000 men fighting against. And some of those ISIS fighters just changed uniforms. And like I said, now they're just wearing a suit or something. So Kemal Oz says Trump removing sanctions against AI or against al-Sharaa in Syria was as premature as a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. His delusional push for a Nobel Prize allows for him to be deferential to bad actors, i.e. Putin. Well, he's learning his lesson with Putin, isn't he? And he's pretty upset with Putin now because Putin's not playing the game. So looks like President Trump is coming around. And let me just say, better late than never. Kudos to President Trump for seeing the light with regards to President Putin and what's going on in Ukraine. So Tim Gunn says, I watched Colonel McGregor. He really is a clown. Yeah, you're not kidding there. It's just a never-ending font of material for me, that's for sure. Gladiator sent 10 Canadian dollars. We call it the Canadian peso. If Iran hits Israel tonight, would it be a huge attack? And how do you think the United States would respond? So I don't think it'd be a huge attack only because Iran has lost so many of their missile launchers. They probably only have a couple hundred of them left. And once they fire those missiles, it takes some time, like up to 8 hours, to reload them for another salvo. It's not like they can fire and reload very fast. This is not artillery. These missiles take some doing. In that time, Israel is going to be hunting them aggressively and bombing them. And I guarantee you, because if you look on Flight Tracker, you can see American military surveillance aircraft like AWACS planes, signals intelligence aircraft, flying circles over the Red Sea right now, and they have been for many days. What they're doing is they're watching very closely everything that happens in Iran. And when they sense movement, when they see that Iran is preparing a strike or something like that, you can bet the Israeli Air Force and probably even the Americans will be flying in there and striking those things. So Iran knows that. They may try to pull off some sort of a surprise attack tonight or tomorrow night or something. They're just not going to be able to surprise Israel that easily because of all of the surveillance that's going on over Iran right now. So would the United States join Israel in responding? I don't know. That's a good question. And anything goes with President Trump, as you know. So who is Colonel McGregor? Kellogg and my subs and I went to the same Polytech. Colonel McGregor is a former U.S. Army colonel who is a paid shill or a complete drooling moron. I'm not sure which. Who is completely in the tank for Russia and against Israel. So go back and watch the live that I just did the other day. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so I'm just looking through here for some questions. I wanted to get to those before it gets too late. I tell you what, let me show you. I did an interview with Yishai Fleischer the other day. Yishai is a uh, wonderful Jewish man who lives in Hebron. He's the head of the uh, sort of public affairs of the Jews of Hebron, and has a very nice YouTube channel himself. Puts out videos that are very high quality that explain a lot about Israel. If you want to know more about Israel, go check out Yishai Fleischer's page. I will put the link up to my interview with Yishai Fleischer uh, in the show notes, in the description, and I'll try to put it up in the chat here in just a second. But I want to show you just an excerpt of it. It was a wide-ranging interview. It went on for 36 minutes, and we talked about a lot of stuff. One of the things we talked about was why all of a sudden, these right-wing, ostensibly right-wing people in the United States have turned against the state of Israel, because typically, historically, right-wing conservatives and Christians have been very pro-Israel. So why is it that they turned against Israel? And my answer just blew Yishai away. He was like, I can't even fathom what you're saying right now. And so I just want to play for you a little excerpt of that interview. So let's see if I can find it now. No. No. Oh, there it is.
They have come to the point where they really see leftism as the biggest enemy. And so anything that they associate with leftists, they absolutely hate. Mm-hmm. So when they look at the modern state of Israel, they say, you've got a bunch of leftists that are here. And it's funny because we, in the United States...
For me, I'm like, parenthetically, look what the global image of Israel is. It's very different than the way I think of our Israel, of my Israel. So Chuck, what you're saying is like, they're identifying Israel as this left-leaning
Well, and that's
entity.
the problem they have, is they haven't come here.
Right.
You know, that's the real problem.
Right.
But so you'll see them now, people on the right, who are just vehemently against the state of Israel because they believe it's run by leftists.
Right.
And because they only see the leftism. They don't see the conservative, family-friendly, people who are just like us.
Bible believing.
Yeah, exactly.
Pushing back against jihad.
And generous and, hardworking and resilient people that you see when you actually come here, okay? But you'll see the same
So what do they
thing.
see? They see New York Jews.
Exactly.
They see, and there was another thing that they saw, which you and I were laughing about.
They see Chuck Schumer.
Right, they see Chuck Schumer.
Right. That's it. Okay.
And like, I think of Chuck Schumer as like the enemy of Israel,
And
right?
The proof of that is that they are also turning vehemently against our traditional allies in Western.
Okay, so if you want to go see the rest of that interview, I just put the link to that in the chat, and I'll also put it in the description of the video you can get later. So just bookmark that and go back and watch it. The whole thing is worth watching. There's a lot of good information from Yishai in there. I also wanted to bring in Oscar de la Blue Ramirez for a second. Dun, 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 dun. My buddy Oscar has been here. He's my Mexican journalist friend who's been here exercising his brown privilege all across Israel and practically getting your arms ripped off everywhere you go. He went and got a haircut today, and now he looks even more like a Palestinian. Oscar, I want you to tell us, how's your trip been so far? What have you been seeing, and what do you think about it?
Well, first and foremost, I am extremely blessed to be here the third time and to be with you, Chuck, and thank you for the invitation to being with you. I learn a lot from you. That's the number one thing that I'm really happy to be here. Second of all, I think that one of the things that is extremely important for the population around the United States and to the world is the enormous disinformation that is going around about Israel crumbling, Israel falling into pieces. And that is incredible disinformation. Everybody, it is doing their normal lives. I will tell you one thing, me that I'm from Mexico, Tijuana, it is one of the unsafest cities in the world. And I will tell you, I feel right now more safer than it will be on my own country and in my own city. I will be more safer to walk outside,
Ye-
even knowing that there was going to be, if there's a missile coming in, that I will feel sure that there's a 90% possibility that the Iron Dome is going to take it down, or a
mhm.
100% possibility. That will be more safer for me to be kidnapped, extortion, dismembered body, decapitation, all these things that we see on a normal daily day basis. So for me, I think that that is really
So it's
important.
kind of a real contrast for you.
Yeah.
When you come here, you're just like, whoa,
Yes.
like I'm in a war zone and I'm so much safer than I am when I'm in my own
It's
kitchen.
incredible. Yeah, it's incredible because this is a country that is not, and a lot of the people are saying, well, Israel is just being attacked by Iran. No, that's not true. You know, they are agitated in Lebanon. They're Gaza. There's going on. Two missiles came in from the Houthis from Yemen. There's things that are going on, and right now in Syria,
Mhm.
like everything is all
And the
around
West Bank areas
in
too.
the West Bank area. So it's a center of a lot of attacks, and still they manage the number one priority that is should be a priority for every country. It is the security of their own citizens, and that
Mhm.
is what they have done the best. That's what really shocked me the most.
So hopefully that your own government can take a lesson from the Israelis and start maybe cracking down
Well,
on
we
these
have a
folks.
great example that is Nayib Bukele, you know, and he's the guy that put an example for the West and in the continent. But that's there's the corruption is the number one thing that not letting us to move forward. But this is a really a big contrast, Chuck,
Yeah,
to see
yeah.
it.
Great. Thank you.
Okay,
Oscar's going to
have
go
a
to
great
bed.
night.
So if you guys want to follow Oscar Blue Ramirez, you can go to where Oscar Twitter,
Oscar Ramirez said
Oscar Blue Ramirez,
Oscar Ramirez TJ and X.
and Oscar Ramirez TJ on X. But you can also go to his Buy Me a Coffee, and I bet Mama Marissa has already put the link up because she's just that good. At some point, somebody did. Okay, so good night, Oscar. Thanks. All right, so we're coming down to the wire here. If you've got any last minute questions, make sure you throw them into the chat here. Uh, Suffice it to say, oh, thank you, prior 2000 or whatever. I will get Oscar a cup of coffee in the morning. I always make him his coffee first thing and bring it to him in bed with his cream and sugar already mixed in with a little design in the foam for him and everything like that. That's how he demands it. It's the only way I can get him to travel with me is he's always telling me how like all these fancy places and stuff I'm taking him are not up to his standards. So I just do my best. You know, I'm folding his underwear late into the night after we do his laundry, and then I'm getting him up in the morning and helping him get dressed and all that. So no, actually he actually cleaned the whole apartment today while I was working out. So thank you, Oscar. There's that. Uh, all right. Uh, okay. Thomas Asadi says, "Free Palestine." That's exactly what the Israelis are doing. Thomas, don't you get it? Don't you understand? The people that are in Gaza desperately need to be free. And Benjamin Netanyahu keeps saying, we want them to be free. We want them to be free to live in peace, to leave if they want, to come and go, to work, to do everything like normal. But they can't because Hamas is holding Israelis hostage. The only answer I can give you when you say free Palestine is free the hostages. If you free the hostages, the war's over. If they just give up the hostages, lay down their arms, the war is over. Israel does not want to attack Gaza just for the fun of it. That's not what Israel does. There was a ceasefire on October 6th, 2023. That ceasefire was broken on October 7th by Hamas. And since then, Israel has been trying to get its people back. So every drop of suffering that's taking place in Gaza, and it's severe, there's no sugarcoating that. The suffering in Gaza is severe, is the fault of the people who are holding the Israeli hostages. If the people get tired enough of suffering, they can turn in those people who are holding the hostages, and there's a $5 million reward for information that leads to the safe release of a hostage. $5 million and an Israeli passport and a free place to live for the rest of your life in another country. But they won't take it because they still support Hamas. And look, if you're holding our people hostage, if it was my people, and you were holding my people hostage, you get what you get. You want to free Palestine? Let's try freeing the hostages first, and then Palestine can be free. This is the dumbest thing ever. Free Palestine. Okay, we just went over an hour, so on that happy note, I'm going to call it there. Thank you very much for all of you. A great live tonight. We have a lot more where that's coming from. So again, go over to chuckholton.com. You can find the link to the video with Yishai Fleischer. We're going to have, we got lots of early content coming for you that we'll be putting up, and that'll eventually make its way over to YouTube as well. So please like and share this podcast. Make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube, and we'll see you again next time. Take care. Wait, PC asked a question and I forgot to answer it. So now I got to go back and find PC's question again. I'm not sure where PC's question went. PC, can you re-ask your question and I will try to answer it for you? I came back on the lives, restarted the live just so I could answer your question. But there's 9 million comments over here and I just missed it. So I'm sorry about that, PC. I think you had sent me an email. Oh, we have a question list. Okay, Rubina has a question list. I just have to find the link to the question list, and if I have the link, then I will go answer the questions on the question list. I didn't realize there were. No, I don't. I need a link, people. All right, if you can get me the link to the question list, I will answer the questions. Leah Aguilar says, "What do you, Chuck? What do you about Christ at the checkpoint in Bethlehem?" I'm sorry, that's not a actual sentence. I mean, those are all words in English, but you put them together like that, it doesn't work. Okay, somebody posted PC's question. I heard the IRGC was under attack. Oh, yeah. I thank you for reminding me. I meant to talk about that. There are a tremendous number of things inside Iran right now that are just magically going boom. And I did allude to it in the beginning of the live that yes, there are um, the Israelis are trying to keep the Iranians on their back foot and make it so that it's going to be much harder for them to attack Israel again. There are still Mossad operatives running amok around Iran, and likely some local Persian opposition that is assisting with this, that wants to see the regime fall. And so they're taking advantage of the situation to try to make things go boom. What's funny is every time something blows up, and this is like, I mean, just today, there were probably 8 different places across Iran that spontaneously combusted. And in every case, the official report that comes out in the state-sponsored media is that there was a gas leak. Well, I mean, they've got gas leaks all over Iran, man. I wouldn't be cooking anything at this point. They got stuff just, man, I don't know what it is about. Maybe they got some bad gas from Russia or something. I don't know. But that's a lot of gas leaks. These and why the gas leaks tend to only show up in the apartments of high-ranking IRGC officials, that's just hard to answer. I don't know, but it sounds like the Mossad may be assisting with some gas leaks across Iran and doing that to keep Iran reeling after these attacks. Iran is definitely trying to get its act together. And so whether or not they'll strike tonight, we don't know. Question, do we know where the drone was fired from on Erbil? We don't know exactly, but it was likely fired from an Iranian-backed militia inside Iraq. There are lots of Iranian-backed militias inside Iraq. Danny Davis says, Chuck, can you pray for me? My name's Danny. I always watch you. I need prayer that I get closer to the Lord. Okay, but I will warn you, Danny, when you pray to get closer to the Lord, very often the Lord brings things into your life that will force you to get closer to Him. And the first thing you're going to do is pray for Him to take those things away because they are uncomfortable. So I will. Let's pray for Danny. Join me. Lord God, I come to you right now and I pray for Danny and I ask, Lord, that you would just show yourself to him in a very, very real way. This is unmistakable. I know that it's easy to doubt. There's lots of doubts that creep in, but I pray that you would just manifest in his life and send the Holy Spirit to convict him of his sin, to draw him to yourself, and to really draw him into the purpose that you created him for. That purpose that will be the most meaningful thing he can do in his life. And I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, Danny, we prayed for you. All right, now I'm really done this time. Okay, answered your question, PC. I'm really done. And I didn't have the link to the question. Oh, wait, did they put it up? Okay, yep, put it up. You guys need to repost that link every time. Who do you think Iran warns before they attack? Paul Bradley says, probably warn Russia. They might warn some of their friends. I don't know. Like I say, I think there's a real rumor mill. You and I both know, Paul, that's how it works in Syria. There are WhatsApp groups that stuff flies all over the place. And I know some people in Armenia who are attached to some of the WhatsApp groups coming out of Iran, and they get information that way. So that's one thing. Ursula asks, where is your green juice drink from Israel? I haven't had a chance to go over there and pick up some of my Ertrog drink this trip, but I plan to. Mike Silva asks, is there any truth to the $40 billion price tag being touted to turn off Donald Trump's light switch? Yes, there is. I actually went to the website. There's a crowdfunding website. It's put up by a guy in Iran who is he's an Iranian, he's a member of the government. And they put up a crowdfunding thing, raising money to pay someone to do bad things to the U.S. president and other members of the Israeli government, things like that. Now it shows that they've raised $45 million. That could be manipulated. They could have just stuck that up there to try to, get somebody. But obviously, if you present a threat to the US president, you are likely going to get unalived yourself, and you're not going to be able to collect that money. So that's kind of ridiculous. But without a doubt, it does exist. I actually took a picture of it with a screenshot on my phone, and it looks like this. There's a $42 million that they've raised so far, and it literally says on this, this is not funding terror. This is funding the fight against U.S. state terror, is what he says. So yeah, whatever. The mentioned amount I'm just reading from the website here. The mentioned amount will be delivered by the committed individuals to every free person who carries out the verdict of justice. And it says again, this campaign is not funding terrorism. Really? Oh yeah, you think? Any word on what was in the Russian cargo plane? No. Question, what's going on about a mushroom explosion? I don't know what you're talking about. Maricopa Joe asks, the PM of Lebanon has denied normalization with Israel. The media is reporting the contrary. What's the truth? I've seen both stories, so I don't know what the truth is. The U.S. is pushing the Lebanese government to normalize relations with Israel. There is a new president in Lebanon who's trying to be a tough guy and say that that's not going to happen, but we'll see. Do you think Trump's new plans with Russia will work? That's a whole different podcast I need to do. But what he's doing right now, that definitely will be helpful for Ukraine. Roland Herman says, do you think Israel should strike the nuclear sites with small strategic nuclear weapons to make them impossible to ever be used again due to radioactive contamination? Answer, no, because that would break the nuclear taboo, and then lots of people would start using nuclear weapons for different things. Who sent the drone to Erbil? I already answered that. Can we pray for the Texas flood victims? Did you hear about a mushroom cloud in Iran? I just heard about lots of explosions in Iran, that's all. Kemal Oz, how dangerous to American Christians and folks who consider themselves conservatives are Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens? The uninformed can fall for their lies about Israel and blatant anti-Semitism. Well, dangerous? Dumb. Dumb is a better term. Not. I don't know about dangerous, but they're dumb for sure. And people who listen to them are going to get dumber by listening to them. Placido Murillo says, keep up the good work. God bless you from Tecate, Baja California. Thank you. Appreciate that. Fluffy Birdie asks, what's going on with Trump and Netanyahu? Are they good? Yes, they are good. And they keep saying they are good. Both of them keep saying, we're good. It's great. We love each other. We have a bromance going on here. And people and the media keeps trying to find some daylight between them. So, okay, just got through all the questions. Sorry about it. I didn't have access to that document until just now. So there you go.